The massive station floated in the darkness of space like a silver wheel turning slowly. Inside, representatives from 50 different species gathered in the Great Council chamber. Some walked on 2 legs, others on 4 or 6. Some breathed oxygen, others methane or ammonia. But today all eyes focused on the humans standing in the center of the room. Ambassador Jiwan stood straight and calm, though her heart pounded in her chest. She had spent 20 years building friendships across the galaxy, 20 years of careful words and patient negotiations. Now it seemed those years meant nothing. The Valtrine High Judge clicked its mandibles together. The insect-like creature towered over most species in the room, its compound eyes reflecting the chamber's lights like 1,000 tiny mirrors. When it spoke, translators around the room converted the clicking sounds into words everyone could understand. "The evidence is clear," the judge announced. "Humanity has violated the Technology Restriction Treaty. You have built weapons capable of destroying stars. This cannot be allowed." Jiwan raised her hand to speak. "Honored Council, those weapons are defensive only. Pirates attack our outer colonies every month. We need protection." A crystalline being from the Norum Collective pulsed with angry red light. "Every species claims defense. The treaty exists for the safety of all. You agreed to follow our laws when you joined the Council." Outside the station, Captain Daehyun watched the proceedings from his ship's bridge. The Defiant Hope was Earth's finest diplomatic vessel, armed but not aggressive. Daehyun had fought in 3 wars during his 40 years of service. He knew what combat looked like, and he knew what politics looked like. Right now, politics felt more dangerous. Lieutenant Hyunwoo stood beside his captain, young face filled with worry. "Sir, they're not even listening to her. They decided this before the trial started." Daehyun nodded slowly, his cybernetic eye, a replacement from the Border Wars, whirred as it focused on the station. "The Council doesn't want justice. They want obedience." Back on Earth, Admiral Mireille sat in the Defense Command Center watching the same broadcast. Around her, dozens of officers monitored screens showing human ships across 70 star systems. She had commanded the human defense fleet for 12 years. She had kept Earth safe through diplomacy and careful strength. But she knew that safety was about to end. Her second-in-command approached quietly. "Admiral, the vote is starting." Mireille watched as the council members registered their decisions. Green lights for mercy, red lights for punishment. The board filled with red. 47 red lights, only 3 green. The small species who sympathized with humanity were too few to matter. The Valtrine judge spoke again. "Humanity is found guilty. The sentence is as follows. You will surrender all military vessels except small patrol craft. You will allow council observers on all human worlds. You will pay reparations equal to your planet's total production for 100 years. If you refuse these terms, you will be expelled from the council and declared a rogue species. Any council member may attack you without consequence." The chamber fell silent. Every species in the room understood what this meant. Accept and become slaves. Refuse and become prey. Jiwan felt her communication device vibrate. A message from Admiral Mireille, just 3 words, "Do not beg." The ambassador took a deep breath. She thought about Earth, about the billions of humans living on dozens of worlds. She thought about her daughter, who wanted to become a starship engineer. She thought about everything humanity had built in the 73 years since making first contact. Then she spoke clearly. "The Galactic Council has given humanity a choice between slavery and war. We choose neither. Effective immediately, humanity withdraws from the Galactic Council. We came to you as partners. We leave as free beings. We will defend ourselves. We will trade with whoever wishes to trade with us. We will make our own path through the stars." The chamber erupted. Some species shouted in anger, others in surprise. The Valtrine judge's mandibles clacked furiously. "You make a grave mistake, humans. You are weak. You are few. The galaxy will crush you." Jiwan smiled, though it didn't reach her eyes. "Perhaps, but we will be crushed as free people, not as slaves." She turned and walked toward the exit. Her small diplomatic team followed. No one tried to stop them. The council members seemed too shocked to react. Captain Daehyun received the signal. "All human personnel evacuate immediately. We're leaving." The Defiant Hope's engines roared to life. Around the station, 3 other human ships did the same. They formed up and jumped to faster-than-light travel, leaving the council station behind. Lieutenant Hyunwoo stared at the empty space where the station had been. "Captain, what happens now?" Daehyun stood and straightened his uniform. Now we prepare for war. The Council won't let this insult stand. They'll come for us and they'll come in force. On Earth, Admiral Mirai issued orders to every human ship and station. Protocol Exodus is now active. All commands implement your assigned tasks. We have 3 weeks, maybe 4, before they attack. Make them count. Across human space, engineers rushed to their workshops. Scientists checked their calculations one more time. Soldiers loaded weapons and ran combat drills. Every human knew what was coming. They had seen what the Council did to species that disobeyed. Planets burned. Populations enslaved or exterminated. The Council called it justice. Everyone else called it terror. But humans had a secret. For 5 years, Earth's brightest minds had worked on a project called Phantom Shield. They had discovered something in the ruins of an ancient civilization, a technology that could change everything. The Council feared humanity had built star-killing weapons. They were wrong. Humanity had built something much more dangerous to the Council's power. Dr. Junho sat in his laboratory looking at the prototype. It was a small device, barely larger than his hand. It didn't look like much. But this little machine could disable any technology not built by humans. It created a field that disrupted energy patterns in alien systems. Weapons would stop firing, shields would collapse, ships would go dark. The Council's technological superiority would mean nothing. He had named it the Quantum Disruptor. He hoped it would save his species. He feared what it might cost. Ambassador Jiwon returned to Earth 3 days later. She walked through her home city, seeing normal people living normal lives. Children played in parks. Workers commuted to jobs. Artists created beauty, all of them unaware that war was coming. Her daughter met her at their home. "Mom, did you really tell the entire galaxy to leave us alone?" Jiwon hugged her tight. "I told them we won't be slaves. That means we have to fight. Are we going to win?" Jiwon thought about the Quantum Disruptor, about Protocol Exodus, about the determination she saw in every human eye. We're going to try. That's all anyone can do. In the Valtrine home system, 300 warships prepared for departure, the largest punitive fleet ever assembled by a single Council species. Their target, Proxima Station, humanity's biggest outer colony. 4 million humans lived there. The Valtrine planned to make an example of them. Show the galaxy what happened to species that defied the Council. The fleet commander looked at tactical displays showing the human defenses. 12 frigates, 30 small corvettes, nothing that could stop 300 Valtrine warships. He gave the order. Set course for Proxima. Maximum speed. We will arrive in 3 weeks. We will show these primitives their place. The fleet jumped to faster-than-light travel, leaving a trail of distorted space behind them. And across human space, Admiral Mirai smiled grimly. The Council had done exactly what she predicted. They were coming with overwhelming force. They expected an easy victory. They were wrong. 3 weeks passed faster than anyone wanted. On Proxima Station, Governor Taejin stood in the command center watching the evacuation. Transport ships carried civilians to underground shelters on the nearby moon. Women, children, elderly scientists, anyone who couldn't fight. 4 million people took a long time to move. The defense fleet waited in formation around the station. 12 frigates and 30 corvettes against 300 enemy warships. Everyone knew the numbers. Everyone knew what they meant. Commander Somin sat in her ship's captain chair, invisible to every scanner in the system. The Ghost Protocol was humanity's first true stealth vessel, using technology adapted from the Quantum Disruptor project. Right now, she floated 3,000 kilometers from Proxima Station, waiting. "Commander, the Valtrine fleet just entered the system," her sensor officer reported. Somin nodded. "Good, let them come. Don't activate anything that might give away our position." On the station, Governor Taejin received a transmission from the Valtrine fleet commander. The insect-like alien appeared on the screen, mandibles clicking with what might have been amusement. "Human administrator, you will surrender immediately. Power down all weapons. Prepare to be boarded. Your species has violated Council law. You will face punishment." Taejin looked at the alien for a long moment. Then he smiled. "No," the transmission cut off. The Valtrine commander seemed surprised by such a simple answer. "Very well. You choose death. Attack Formation Alpha. Destroy the defense fleet, then the station." The Valtrine ships moved forward in perfect coordination. Hundreds of years of military tradition guided their tactics. They had fought a dozen wars and never lost. These primitive humans would be easy prey. Captain Daehyun commanded the human defense fleet from the Defiant Hope. He watched the enemy approach and felt strangely calm. He had fought in worse situations. Well, maybe not worse, but definitely desperate. All ships fire at will, target their lead vessels, make them think we're fighting normally. Human railguns opened fire. Magnetic accelerators threw metal slugs at incredible speeds. Some hit Valtrine shields and bounced off harmlessly. A few penetrated and damaged hull armor. The enemy barely slowed down. Valtrine energy weapons returned fire. Bright blue beams that could melt through ship hulls like butter through paper. The human frigate Morning Star exploded in a ball of superheated gas. 17 crew members died instantly. Lieutenant Hyunwoo gripped his console. "Captain, we've lost Morning Star. Enemy targeting the Pacific Runner now." Another beam. Another explosion. Another 23 humans dead. Daehyun kept his voice steady. "Hold formation. Keep firing!" "Soman, are you in position?" Thousands of kilometers away, Commander Soman checked her tactical display. The Valtrine fleet had formed a tight group. Standard battle doctrine for overwhelming a weaker enemy. They wanted to concentrate their firepower. They had just made a fatal mistake. "We're in position, Captain. Ghost Protocol is moving into the center of their formation now." Her ship glided silently through space. No engines burning. No shields active. No weapons powered up. Just momentum carrying them into the heart of the enemy fleet. Valtrine sensors couldn't detect anything unusual. Just empty space where a human ship waited. On Earth, Dr. Junho watched the battle through a satellite feed. His hands shook slightly. 5 years of work came down to this moment. Either the quantum disruptor worked perfectly, or thousands of humans would die. Admiral Mirai stood beside him. "Doctor, do you believe in your creation?" Wunyo nodded slowly. "The mathematics is perfect. The test results were flawless. It should work. Should? Will. It will work." At Proxima Station, the human defense fleet lost its 8th ship. The Valtrine pressed forward, certain of victory. Their commander already composed the report he would send to the Council. Humans crushed. Order restored. The galaxy reminded of Council power. Then Commander Soman spoke 2 words. "Activate disruptor." The quantum disruptor powered up. Energy flowed through carefully designed circuits. The device created a field that expanded outward at the speed of light. An invisible wave that touched every Valtrine ship simultaneously, and their technology stopped working. Weapons went offline. Shields collapsed. Engines died. Life support flickered. Communication systems failed. 300 warships became 300 metal coffins floating in space. The Valtrine commander stared at his dark console. Emergency lights provided the only illumination. His crew members clicked their mandibles in panic. Nothing responded to their controls. Every system failed at the same instant. Captain Daehyun's voice came through on an emergency frequency, using old-style radio waves that the disruptor didn't affect. "Valtrine Fleet, this is Captain Daehyun of the Human Defense Fleet. Your ships are disabled but not destroyed. Your crews are alive. We don't want to kill you. We want you to deliver a message." The Valtrine commander managed to activate a backup communicator. "What have you done?" "What weapon is this?" "The weapon you feared. The weapon you tried to take from us. We built it to defend ourselves. You came here to punish us for wanting to survive. Now you see why we needed protection." Human ships moved through the disabled Valtrine fleet. Marines boarded some vessels and captured their crews. Others were destroyed with precise weapons fire, their reactors exploding in bright flashes. Commander Soman kept the quantum disruptor active. As long as the field remained, Valtrine technology stayed offline. Human technology, built on different principles, worked perfectly fine. Lieutenant Hyunwoo watched the tactical display with wide eyes. 300 enemy ships. 8 hours ago they seemed unstoppable. Now they were debris or prisoners. "Sir, we actually won. We beat a council fleet." Daehyun allowed himself a small smile. "We beat one council fleet, Lieutenant. There are thousands more ships out there. But today, yes, we won." Governor Taejin watched from the station as the last Valtrine vessel surrendered. His hands trembled with relief and shock. 4 million people safe. The station intact. Against impossible odds, humanity had survived. One Valtrine ship escaped. Commander Somin deliberately let it go, pulling back the disruptor field just enough for its engines to restart. The ship jumped to faster-than-light travel immediately, racing back toward Council space. Admiral Mirai had ordered this. The galaxy needed to see what happened, needed to know that humanity could defend itself, needed to understand that the Council's military power wasn't absolute anymore. Dr. Junho collapsed into his chair when the battle ended. His creation worked. The quantum disruptor functioned exactly as designed. He felt pride and horror in equal measure. Pride that his work saved lives. Horror at what this technology might mean for the galaxy's future. On the Council station, news of the defeat arrived 2 days later. The chamber filled with shocked silence as the Valtrine representative explained what happened. 300 ships disabled by unknown technology. Total defeat against an inferior force. The Norum Collective representative pulsed orange, the color of deep thought. This changes everything. If humans can defeat a major fleet, they're more dangerous than we believed. The Valtrine representative clicked angrily. We must respond with overwhelming force. Assemble the Grand Armada. Every council member contributes ships. We will crush Earth itself. Some species agreed immediately. Others hesitated. The smaller species whispered among themselves. If humanity could resist, maybe they could too. Meanwhile, across human space, celebrations mixed with preparation. People cheered in the streets, proud that their species stood up to galactic bullies. But military commanders knew this was just the beginning. Admiral Murray addressed the fleet commanders in a secure transmission. We won one battle. The next one will be harder. The Council will come with thousands of ships. We need allies. We need time. We need to make the galaxy understand we're not the enemy. Captain Daehyun transferred his command to Proxima Station temporarily. He walked through the damaged sections where Valtrine weapons had burned through hull plating. Engineers worked around the clock making repairs. These scars reminded everyone what they fought against. A young ensign named Yoonji approached him. Captain, we're receiving transmissions from non-Council species. They want to talk to us. They're asking if we'll help them stand up to the Council too. Daehyun looked at her thoughtfully. Send all those transmissions to Ambassador Jiwon. This is bigger than just military action now. We might be starting something that changes the entire galaxy. Commander Soman powered down the quantum disruptor after the battle. The device had performed perfectly, but it couldn't run forever. They would need more disruptors installed on more ships if they wanted to survive what came next. She looked at her crew. They had done the impossible today, defeated an enemy fleet without losing a single human ship. But she saw the exhaustion in their eyes. One victory didn't mean the war was over. Far across the galaxy, species who had never heard of humans before suddenly learned their name. Stories spread about the young race that defied the Council. Some called them heroes. Others called them fools. Everyone agreed they were interesting. And in the dark spaces between stars, other civilizations watched carefully. Civilizations that had suffered under Council rule. Civilizations that had submitted because they thought they had no choice. Now humanity showed them another option. Resistance was possible. Victory was possible. Freedom was possible. The galaxy would never be the same. 6 months passed since the Battle of Proxima Station. The galaxy split into factions arguing about what humanity's victory meant. In the Council chamber, debates turned into shouting matches. Ancient alliances cracked under pressure. The certainty that had kept the Council strong for thousands of years began to crumble. Admiral Seok commanded the Second Fleet, protecting the fringe territories. These outer regions of human space bordered areas where pirates and raiders operated freely. The Council had never bothered protecting anyone out here. Now humanity filled that void. Admiral, we're receiving distress calls from a Karathi colony, his communications officer reported. They're not Council members. Raiders are attacking them. Seok didn't hesitate. Set course immediately. Maximum speed. Let's show them what human protection looks like. The Second Fleet arrived in time to drive off the raiders. The Karathi were small, peaceful builders who had excellent ship construction skills but weak weapons. They watched in amazement as human warships scattered the attackers without destroying them. The Karathi leader made contact. Why did you help us? We have nothing to offer in return. Admiral Seok smiled. We helped because it was right. But if you want to offer something, we could use friends. The Council is coming for us eventually. We need allies. The Karathi agreed immediately. They had lived in fear of raiders for generations. The Council ignored their requests for protection. Humanity answered in hours on Kepler 442b. Scientist Hana studied ancient ruins that human explorers discovered 6 months earlier. The structures predated any known civilization. The writing was different from anything in Council records. Her team worked carefully, documenting every detail. She found a data storage device buried beneath what looked like a temple. It took weeks to decode the information. When she finally succeeded, what she learned changed everything. These are the architects, she told her team. They built a civilization that spanned thousands of worlds. They had technology more advanced than anything that exists today, and according to these records, they challenged the Council's authority 8,000 years ago. Her assistant examined the data. What happened to them? Hannah pointed to the final entries. They vanished. Every world, every ship, every trace disappeared within a century. The records suggest the Council's predecessors destroyed them systematically and erased evidence they ever existed. This discovery was too important to keep quiet. Hannah sent her findings to Earth. Within days, Ambassador G1 released the information to every species in the galaxy. The message was clear. The Council had done this before and would do it again. Merchant Captain Sunwoo operated an independent trading vessel called the Bright Fortune. He specialized in dealing with non-Council species, the civilizations that the Council declared not ready for galactic society. These species lived in isolation, sometimes not knowing other intelligent life existed. Sunwoo changed that. He made contact with 30 different civilizations in 6 months. He offered them technology, trade agreements, and protection from Council aggression. He asked nothing except friendship in return. One species called the Draconians impressed him particularly. They were large, powerful warriors who valued honor above everything. Their leader, a scarred veteran named Korath, listened to Sunwoo's explanation of galactic politics. So this council controls everything, and they decide who is ready to join them? Korath asked. Exactly. They keep civilizations isolated until they're weak enough to dominate. Korath's eyes glowed with anger. My people would never submit to such control. Tell your leaders we will fight beside humanity. We may not have advanced ships, but we have warriors willing to die for freedom. Colonel Yuna led Special Forces operations deep in Council territory. Her team infiltrated communication networks and stole classified documents. What they found shocked even hardened intelligence operatives. The Council maintained secret prisons where they held members of species that resisted too much. They suppressed technology that might threaten their dominance. They sabotaged civilizations that developed faster than expected. Every crime imaginable, all hidden behind the facade of galactic order. Yuna sent everything to Earth. Ambassador G1 released it all to the public. Species across the galaxy read the documents and realized they had been lied to for millennia. The Council fractured into 3 groups. The hardliners, led by the Valtrine, demanded total war against humanity. They wanted Earth destroyed and every human killed as an example. The pragmatists, surprisingly led by some Krell warriors, suggested negotiation. They respected strength, and humanity had proven strong. Fighting them might cost more than winning was worth. The reformists were mostly smaller species who had always felt oppressed by the Council. They questioned whether the Council should exist in its current form at all. The Norum Collective proposed assembling the Grand Armada. Every Council member would contribute warships for a single massive fleet. They would jump to Earth and end the human threat permanently. The vote required 3 days of debate. Finally, 38 species voted yes, 12 voted no. The Grand Armada would assemble in 1 year. On Earth, Ambassador G1 met with representatives from 17 non-Council species. They gathered in secret, careful to avoid Council spies. The meeting took place in an underground facility in the mountains. We all face the same threat, G1 explained. The Council will destroy anyone who challenges their authority. Alone we might survive. Together we can win. A luminary representative, a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline matrix, pulsed with curious light. What do you propose? An alliance of free species. Equal partnership, shared technology, mutual defense. No species dominates others. No one is more advanced or more important. We stand together or fall apart. The representatives talked among themselves. Some were hesitant. Alliances with humans meant making themselves council targets. But staying neutral meant watching humanity fall and knowing they might be next. One by one, they agreed. The Free Species Alliance was born. Engineer Jamin worked in the orbital shipyards around Earth. He designed new vessels that incorporated architect technology with human innovation. The ships were faster and more maneuverable than anything the Council had seen. The quantum disruptor gives us an advantage, he explained to Admiral Mirai. But we can't rely on one weapon. We need ships that can fight even if the disruptor fails. The new designs impressed everyone who saw them. Sleek hulls that minimized sensor detection, weapons that could fire from unusual angles, shield systems that adapted to different attack types. Ships that looked like works of art but fought like demons. Production began immediately. Earth's shipyards worked non-stop. The Karathi contributed their construction expertise. Other Alliance members provided rare materials. Within 6 months, the Free Species Alliance fleet grew from hundreds of ships to thousands. Captain Dae-hyun received promotion to Fleet Admiral. He now commanded all military forces in the Alliance. The responsibility weighed on him, but he accepted it. Someone had to lead, and his experience made him the logical choice. He met with Alliance military leaders in a secure conference. The Grand Armada will outnumber us 5 to 1, maybe more. We can't fight them head-on and win through superior numbers. We need strategy. A draconian commander slammed his fist on the table. My warriors do not hide from battle. No one's hiding, Dae-hyun replied calmly. But we're not throwing away lives in pointless charges either. We fight smart. We use our advantages. We make them pay for every meter of space. The Zentari representative, a telepathic being who communicated directly mind to mind, shared a thought with everyone present. It contained images of Alliance ships working in perfect coordination, each commander knowing exactly what others planned, without needing radio communication. The Zentari offer our talents, their representative explained. We can link the minds of your commanders during battle. Perfect coordination. No communication delays. No misunderstandings, Dae-hyun smiled. That's exactly the kind of advantage we need. Back on the council station, the Valtrine representative addressed the gathered species. The Grand Armada assembles in the Deneb system, 3,000 warships from 50 species, the largest fleet in galactic history. We will jump to Earth and end this rebellion once and for all. Some species cheered. Others remained silent. A few looked uncomfortable but said nothing. The Krell representative stood slowly. He was old by warrior standards, his scales scarred from dozens of battles. I have fought for the Council for 50 years. I have seen many wars, but I have never seen a war where we attacked someone for wanting freedom. This troubles me, the Valtrine representative clicked angrily. They defy Council authority. They defy Council tyranny, the Krell corrected. There is a difference. The chamber fell silent. A respected warrior questioning the Council's actions meant something. Not enough to stop the war, but enough to make some species think, Doctor. Junyo worked on next-generation quantum disruptors in his laboratory. The first version worked perfectly at Proxima, but it had limitations. Range was short. Duration was limited. He needed something better. His breakthrough came by accident while experimenting with architect technology. The ancient civilization had discovered a way to target specific energy signatures across vast distances. Junyo adapted this for the quantum disruptor. 1 year after humanity left the Council, 37 species had joined the Free Species Alliance. They brought different strengths to the partnership. The Draconians provided fierce ground troops. The Luminaries shared advanced shield technology. The Karathi built ships faster than any species in the galaxy. The Zentari offered telepathic coordination that made Alliance fleets move like single organisms. Ambassador Nari stood before the Alliance Council, a governing body where every species had equal representation, regardless of size or strength. This was the promise humanity made, and they kept it. The Grand Armada assembles in the Deneb system, she reported. Intelligence suggests 3,000 warships from 48 Council species. They plan to jump directly to Earth and force surrender through overwhelming power, a Draconian representative growled. Let them come. We will show them what happens when free warriors fight for their homes. Nari nodded. Fleet Admiral Dae-hyun has developed a defensive strategy, but we need to understand what we face. This is the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. They outnumber us 5 to 1. The Luminari representative pulsed with calm blue light. Numbers are not everything. We have advantages they lack. Unity of purpose. Technology they don't expect. The quantum disruptor. In the Deneb system, the Grand Armada filled space like a metal forest. 800 Valtrine vessels seeking revenge for their defeat at Proxima. 600 Norum ships enforcing what they called cosmic order. 400 Thessian heavy cruisers protecting economic interests. 200 Krell battleships, though many Krell warriors privately doubted this war's honor. 1,000 ships from smaller council species who feared what would happen if they refused to contribute. The council's supreme commander was a Valtrine admiral named Kestix. He had commanded fleets for 30 years and never lost a major battle. He studied tactical displays showing the Alliance fleet positioning. They have 600 ships, he told his staff. We have 3,000. They will position themselves between us and Earth, trying to delay us. We will punch through their formation and proceed to the human homeworld. This war ends quickly. His tactical officer clicked nervously. Admiral, intelligence reports they have more quantum disruptors now. The weapons that disabled our fleet at Proxima. Kestix waved a foreleg dismissively. We know about those devices. We've developed countermeasures, backup systems, redundant power sources. We won't be caught helpless again. What Kestix didn't know was that Dr. Junho's version 2 disruptor used completely different principles. The Council's countermeasures were worthless. Captain Dongyan commanded the super dreadnought Indomitable, the largest warship humanity ever built. The ship stretched 2 kilometers from bow to stern, bristling with weapons and covered in armor a meter thick. It carried 3,000 crew members and enough firepower to destroy small moons. He walked through the ship's corridors, seeing crew members preparing for battle. Engineers checked systems. Gunners ran simulations. Medical teams prepared for casualties. Everyone knew what was coming. A young pilot named Chaewon approached him. She led the ship's fighter wing, piloting a small fast craft that could dance between capital ships. Captain, the fighters are ready. We've practiced the maneuvers 1,000 times. Donghyun smiled at her confidence. Good. We'll need every advantage. The Council fleet is massive. We beat them before, sir. We'll beat them again. He wished he had her certainty. The Battle of Proxima had been one fleet against unprepared enemies. This would be different. The Council knew what was coming. They had prepared. This battle would cost lives, and not all those lives would be on the enemy side. Fleet Admiral Daehyun stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Defiant Hope. The ship had survived 3 wars before this one. He hoped it would survive a 4th. Around him, tactical displays showed both fleets. The Grand Armada had finished assembling. They would jump to Earth space within 48 hours. Admiral, all Alliance ships report ready, Lieutenant Hyunwoo informed him. The young officer had grown during the past year. He'd seen combat now, understood what war meant. The idealism remained, but tempered by experience. Send a message to all commanders, Daehyun ordered. We fight for freedom today. Not just human freedom. Freedom for every species that wants to live without a boot on their neck. We're outgunned and outnumbered. We might lose. But even if we fall, we make sure the galaxy never forgets that we fought. Across the Alliance fleet, commanders received the message. In engine rooms and weapon bays and medical centers, crew members heard the words and steeled themselves for what came next. The Grand Armada jumped to faster-than-light travel. 3,000 ships moving as one, crossing hundreds of light years in hours. When they arrived in Earth space, they expected to see a desperate defense fleet trying to protect their homeworld. Instead, they found the Alliance fleet waiting in perfect formation. 600 warships arranged in 3 defensive layers. Behind them, Earth glowed blue and beautiful, worth dying to protect. Admiral Kestix studied the formation. They positioned themselves to maximize defensive crossfire. Standard tactics. They think they can hold us here while we slowly grind them down. They're wrong. All ships attack Formation Delta. Concentrate fire on their center. We punch through and proceed to Earth. The Grand Armada moved forward like an avalanche of metal and energy. Their formation was perfect, the result of thousands of years of military tradition. The battle began with long-range fire. Energy beams and missiles crossing millions of kilometers of space. Alliance ships returned fire, their weapons scoring hits but not stopping the enemy advance. Then the Zentari telepaths activated their coordination network. Every Alliance commander suddenly felt connected to every other commander. They knew what each ship planned without needing communication. The formation moved like a living thing, each vessel perfectly positioned to support the others. The Luminari activated their shield network. Energy barriers connected between ships, creating overlapping fields that protected entire squadrons. Council weapons that should have destroyed single vessels instead spread their damage across multiple shield generators. The Karathi had built the Alliance ships with modular armor plating. When sections got damaged, new plates slid into position from internal storage. Ships that should have been crippled kept fighting. Pilot Chaewon led her fighter wing into the chaos between the fleets. Small craft were vulnerable to capital ship weapons, but they were fast and hard to target. Her squadron weaved through enemy formations, targeting weapon systems and sensor arrays. Every gun they disabled was one less gun firing at Alliance ships. A Valtrine cruiser tried to target her fighter. She rolled, dove, and came up behind its engines. Her missiles hit true. The cruiser's main drive exploded, leaving it drifting and helpless. "Tiger Squadron, form on me," she ordered. "We're going after that dreadnought." Her pilots followed her into a storm of defensive fire. 3 fighters exploded before reaching their target. Chaewon gritted her teeth and kept flying. She had to trust that her sacrifice meant something. Captain Dongyun's Indomitable held the center of the Alliance line. 30 Council ships focused their fire on the super dreadnought, determined to break the enemy formation. Energy beams hammered shields until they glowed white-hot. Missiles impacted armor, leaving craters in the thick plating. "Shield strength at 40%, his tactical officer reported. "Hull breaches on decks 7, 9, and 12. "Casualties mounting. Keep firing," Dongyun ordered calmly. "We hold this line." The Indomitable's weapons tore into enemy ships. Its main cannon, a massive railgun that ran the length of the ship, could punch through any armor in the galaxy. Every shot destroyed or crippled an enemy vessel, but the Council ships kept coming. For every ship the Indomitable destroyed, 2 more moved forward. Admiral Daehyun watched the battle unfold. The Alliance was fighting brilliantly, better than anyone expected. But they were still losing. The numbers told the story. Alliance ships died at a ratio of 1 to 3, better than expected, but not good enough. Then the Krell made their decision. Admiral Korath of the Krell forces broadcast on all channels. "Krell warriors, we have fought for honor all our lives. There is no honor in this battle. We were told we fight dangerous criminals. I see only free beings defending their homes. The Council lies to us. I will not fight for lies." 100 Krell battleships changed their transponder codes. They turned and fired on the nearest Valtrine vessels. The Grand Armada's formation collapsed as allies suddenly became enemies. Admiral Kestik stared at his tactical display in shock. "The Krell have betrayed us. All ships defensive formation. We must reorganize." But reorganizing in the middle of a battle was nearly impossible. The Alliance fleet pressed their advantage. Chaewon's fighters struck at confused enemy ships. The Indomitable drove forward like a spear. The Zentari coordination allowed Alliance commanders to exploit every opening. The battle raged for 3 days. Ships died by the dozens, then by the hundreds. Space filled with debris and escape pods. Medical ships from both sides worked frantically to save wounded crew members. On the 3rd day, Admiral Kestix realized he had lost. His Grand Armada was destroyed. 2 years after humanity left the Galactic Council, the galaxy looked completely different. The old order had crumbled like a sandcastle in a storm. In its place, something new grew slowly, carefully, built on principles the galaxy hadn't seen in thousands of years. Fleet Admiral Daehyun stood on Earth, watching the sunset over the Pacific Ocean. He had retired from active military service 6 months ago. The cybernetic eye that tracked 1,000 targets in battle now watched waves roll peacefully onto the beach. He thought about all the battles he had fought, all the friends he had lost, all the decisions that kept him awake at night. A young reporter approached him for an interview. "Admiral, people call you the hero who saved humanity. How do you feel about that?" Daehyun smiled sadly. "I'm not a hero. Heroes are the 80,000 people who died in the Battle of Deneb. Heroes are the crew members who kept fighting when their ships were burning around them. I just made decisions and hoped they were right." "What do you want people to remember about the war? That we didn't want it, that we fought only because we had no choice, and that winning a war doesn't make war good. It just means you survived." He paused, looking at the ocean. "I spent my life learning how to fight. Now I want to spend what's left learning how to build peace." Ambassador Jiwan had become the first chancellor of the Free Species Alliance. She worked from the new capital on New Centrum, a planet chosen because it belonged to no single species. The government building was modest, designed for function rather than showing off power. She met with representatives from 63 member species. The Alliance had grown far beyond what anyone imagined. Every week brought new members, species that had lived under council oppression and finally saw a way out. "We need to establish clear laws," a Karathi representative suggested. Ways to settle disputes between members without violence. G1 nodded. Agreed, but we also need to ensure no single species can dominate the others. That's why we have term limits for all positions. That's why every species gets one vote regardless of size. We learned from the Council's mistakes. A draconian warrior stood. What about technology sharing? Some species are more advanced than others. Do we share everything? Yes, G1 said firmly. Knowledge belongs to everyone. We share technology freely. If one species has better medicine, everyone benefits. If another has better engines, everyone gets them. The Council hoarded knowledge to maintain power. We share it to lift everyone up. The vote passed unanimously. The Free Species Alliance would be built on principles of equality, shared knowledge, and mutual support. It wouldn't be perfect, but it would be fair. Admiral Mireille remained as the Alliance Defense Coordinator, but her job changed dramatically. Instead of preparing for war, she now focused on humanitarian missions. Alliance fleets protected developing civilizations from pirates. They delivered medical supplies to planets suffering from disease. They rescued refugees from war zones. She met with Captain Hyunwoo, who now commanded his own ship. How does it feel to explore instead of fight? Hyunwoo grinned. Better than I imagined, Admiral. Last week we made first contact with a civilization that's just discovering radio. We're helping them understand they're not alone in the universe. Next month we're mapping uncharted systems looking for habitable worlds. That's what I hoped for, Mireille said. A fleet that builds instead of destroys. Protection instead of conquest. We have the most powerful military in the galaxy. We should use it for good. Commander Soman trained the next generation of Alliance officers at the new military academy. She taught them tactics and strategy, but also emphasized ethics and responsibility.
Having power doesn't give you the right to use it however you want, she told her students.
With power comes the obligation to protect those weaker than you. Never forget that. One of her students asked, Commander, is it true you disabled 300 enemy ships without destroying them? That you tried to minimize casualties even while winning? We destroyed plenty of ships when we had to, someone corrected. But yes, we tried to limit deaths. Our enemies were people following orders, same as us. Some were honorable warriors like the Krell who switched sides. Others were scared species doing what they thought they had to do. War is terrible enough without making it worse than necessary. Dr. Junho made a decision that shocked the scientific community. He destroyed all research on the quantum disruptor. Every blueprint, every equation, every test result went into a fusion reactor and turned to ash. His colleagues protested. That technology won the war. We need it for defense. We built it to survive, Junho replied calmly. We survived. Now we need to show the galaxy we're not conquerors. We're not building an empire. The quantum disruptor made us powerful enough to defend ourselves. Keeping it makes us look like we're planning to attack others. I won't let my invention become a weapon of conquest. He focused his research on medical technology instead. His team developed treatments for diseases that affected dozens of species. They created artificial organs compatible with non-human biology. They found cures for genetic disorders that had plagued civilizations for millennia. Scientist Hana led the Architect Research Institute, studying the ruins of the ancient civilization. Her team discovered incredible things in the abandoned cities scattered across the galaxy. Technology that could terraform planets in years instead of centuries. Methods to generate clean energy from vacuum fluctuations. Techniques for faster-than-light communication that didn't require ships to carry messages. But she insisted on sharing every discovery immediately. The architects disappeared because they kept too many secrets, she told her team. Knowledge that could help everyone stayed locked in their archives. We won't make that mistake. Every discovery goes public the day we verify it. Merchant Captain Sunwoo established the Free Trade Concordat, an economic system that prevented monopolies and ensured resource sharing. He worked with economists from 30 species to create markets that were fair to everyone. The Council used economic power to control species just as effectively as military force, he explained at a conference. They created dependencies. They controlled trade routes. They made sure no one could be self-sufficient. We're building something different. Every species should be able to feed itself, defend itself, and prosper without needing permission from others. The Galactic Council didn't dissolve immediately. It took 3 years of internal debate before they finally admitted they needed to change. 23 species abandoned the Council entirely and joined the Free Species Alliance. 18 others demanded radical reforms and threatened to leave if they didn't get them. Finally, the Council voted to restructure completely. The Valtrine hegemony was expelled for war crimes committed during their attempt to destroy Proxima Station. Membership became voluntary rather than enforced. Species could leave whenever they wanted. Technology sharing became mandatory. Military fleets were limited to defensive forces. A new charter established rights for all sentient species. Freedom to choose their own government. Freedom to develop their own technology. Freedom to join or leave any alliance. Protection from aggression by more powerful civilizations. The Reformed Council and the Free Species Alliance established diplomatic relations as equals. Neither claimed authority over the other. They competed in some areas and cooperated in others, like nations on ancient Earth before humanity reached the stars. Not everyone was happy with the changes. Some Valtrine extremists formed terrorist groups that attacked alliance targets. Some council species resented losing their privileged positions. Conflicts erupted between species that had old grievances. But overall, the galaxy entered an era of unprecedented cooperation. Species that had been isolated for millennia suddenly had access to thousands of years of accumulated knowledge. Civilizations that had struggled alone found partners willing to help. Research that had progressed slowly suddenly accelerated as scientists from dozens of species collaborated. A memorial was built on Proxima Station commemorating everyone who died in the war. 87,000 names carved in black stone, representing humans and Alliance members who sacrificed everything for freedom. Ambassador Nari spoke at the dedication ceremony. "We did not seek this war," she said to the assembled crowd. "We sought only to live freely, to defend ourselves, to exist as equals among the stars. The Council forced us to choose between submission and survival. We chose survival. But survival alone is not enough. We must ensure no species ever faces that choice again." She gestured to the memorial. "These people died for freedom. Not just human freedom, freedom for everyone. They fought so that every species in the galaxy could choose their own path. They gave everything so that we could stand here today, free beings in a free galaxy." The memorial showed a human hand and an alien appendage clasped together, reaching toward the stars, engraved beneath in 100 languages. "Never again will the strong silence the free." 50 years later, students of a dozen species studied history together in schools across the galaxy. They learned about the Galactic Council's rise and fall. They studied the Free Species Alliance and the principles it was built on. They analyzed the war that changed everything. A teacher asked her class, why did the Council fall? A human student answered, "Because they forgot that strength isn't measured in weapons or ships,